One of the main things is to encourage the parents that they are doing a good job. The fact that they are committed to being the parent and put up with the struggles, that's a really good thing. And to see that when you go through the struggles, it doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It just means that you are helping this individual, in this case teenagers, work out what they want from life, what's important to them, and there will be a struggle. It's a bit like when the butterfly comes out of the cocoon. It doesn't just pop open and there you are. It's a struggle for that butterfly to come out, and then it takes a while for its wings to spread.
Hey, welcome back to Pat Mesiti's best-selling author podcast. Gai Carman is here, and Gai is passionate about helping others. She loves greatly, and she works to make a difference in the world we live in today. And she has faced many struggles and challenges through life. She's dealt with ADD, ADHD, and just figuring out how to live that motivational and growth-based life. And Gai is now a motivational and life coach, so she is going to pass along some important life lessons, what she wished she knew, and what can help us get to our goal and our path and our journey and our destiny faster and better. So, Gai, glad to be speaking with you.
Thank you.
And so I introduced you a little bit, but in your own words, what has you really fired up lately? What's your passion and your focus?
It's knowing that there are so many ways that you can share your life experiences to help influence people in a positive direction or encourage them to do things that they may not have thought of. Yeah, so that really excites me that there's opportunities to be able to do that.
Well, I'm curious to find out from you what sort of change is possible, what maybe you've inspired others to do what they have not thought of. But, you think about this thought that you just shared about, we all think about like, what's the meaning of life? What's my purpose? And it's easy to think, well, it's all about me, right? It's selfish. What do I learn and what do I get? But then there's like that aspect of life of helping others, right? Teaching others and comforting someone else or helping out a friend, having a conversation, and it just opens up so much more, right? The generosity and the giving back. And I think that's a helpful lesson, right? It's one thing for you to spend years or decades learning something, but then we've all had some kind of situation where we taught something to someone else, right? We answered someone's question, taught someone's skill, and it's a good feeling, isn't it? Just to help someone else out.
Definitely is. And I really think that's the benefit of, getting wisdom in your life, that you realise that really isn't all about you, and the struggles and things that you have gone through, as you mentioned, are all about me. But those things serve a purpose for others. And I'm so grateful that there are avenues to be able to speak to people about things that they might be struggling with and give them some ideas. I work alongside some mothers that have got teenagers, and I've been able to share the things that worked for me as a mother with teenagers and the struggles that they go through, but also to encourage them that it's only for a time and a season, and that if they can do the best that they can do and help these young people to develop into good independent adults, then that's their goal. So I really love being able to share some of those experiences that, these other mothers can take on and then try what works with their family. It may not be exactly the same, but the principles can be very much the same.
And I imagine many times it opens someone up to a new way of thinking. And I'm really curious about this because I have a 4-year-old, and I know that the time just flies like that, right? One moment you're frustrated, as you just said, and maybe angry and not sure how to deal with your kid. Next thing you know, they're off to college and they're not even returning your phone calls, and it's gone in a blink just like that. And so I'm doing my best to appreciate the time that there is. And I've already picked up a few different lessons, even when dealing with a toddler, right? You hear these things about patience and how they'll copy everything you do. So you have to be really careful about even the way that you act around them, and that you can't give them everything that they want. And I can only imagine that as the years grow on more, that there's just bigger and bigger problems. And so around what age precisely are we talking about, and what are the big problems with these teenagers?
Well, you're looking at early high school through to leaving school age, and attitude is one of the biggest ones that this particular parent is a single parent, and the children's expectations are unreal to what they see around them, see on social media, um, the things that they have in their head as to what they think they should or shouldn't be allowed to do, and a lack of appreciation. I think one of the disappointing things as a mum is that if you've got teenagers that don't appreciate the extra effort you put in, that you might be staying up late to do stuff for them that will benefit them, and they just don't even say thanks, or they go, "Oh, good, thanks. That's what I wanted. Thanks for it." And they don't actually say thanks. They just like, "That's what I wanted." So attitude, I think, is one of the really big ones, and also I think the discouragement for that, for this parent being on their own, as they don't always feel appreciated, and that's something that it does pass. I experienced that too, thinking that I was knocking myself out to do stuff to help them do life well, but the thank yous didn't come back around. But one of the things I can share with you as they get older and they become parents themselves, some of the feedback that you get is pretty awesome.
I have heard that, and I am sort of imagining some of this, that I'm thinking, like, well, maybe I could have been nicer to my mom and my dad at this age, and now that my kid is ungrateful, and it seems to be like a never-ending cycle that your kid won't catch on to until 20 or 30 years pass, and you wish, oh, why can't they learn it now? Why can't things be better now? But I imagine that even though like the problem maybe can't be completely solved, I'm sure there are ways to lessen the pain, or just new strategies to go about the problem and to not be discouraged, especially in this difficult situation you described, where being a parent's hard enough, but then being a single parent and just having to deal with all the extra stressors, it seems crazy. And so what have you discovered, and what have you passed along as far as raising teens better?
One of the main things is to encourage the parents that they are doing a good job. The fact that they are committed to being the parent and put up with the struggles, that's a really good thing. And to see that when you go through the struggles, it doesn't mean you're a bad parent. It just means that you are helping this individual, in this case teenagers, work out what they want from life, what's important to them, and there will be a struggle. It's a bit like when the butterfly comes out of the cocoon. It doesn't just pop open and there you are. It's a struggle for that butterfly to come out, and then it takes a while for its wings to spread. So there is, and it's just beautiful. Once the butterfly leaves that space, it is beautiful, but the struggle is real. And so to encourage the individual parent that it's struggles that you're dealing with, helping that individual work out what sort of butterfly are they going to be, and so that's the sort of things that are very real. And I think in this day and age, it's a bit different to when I was parenting, but not a whole lot. The social media influences are much greater, and so the struggles are real. They are very real.
Well, wonderful. And this whole idea of the butterfly burrowing out of the cocoon, that's just an important life lesson in general, right? That there, I mean, you don't want life to be so difficult that you can't handle it, but some struggles, like stressing out about grades or work or parenting, just enough keeps you strong and prepares you for maybe the unexpected that might happen. And so like a little bit of stress and struggle is okay, but maybe a healthy, moderate amount. And I think that you're so right too, that it seems like every generation has its own like same but different problems, right? Like Gen
Yes.
Z and Gen Alpha, I can only imagine what it's going to be like, where they grew up not knowing anything besides social media, or whatever craziness social media will turn into in the coming years. I mean, even the last few years, it's been nuts. And so as far as the individual stories, like you say that you've helped some of these these single moms, is there one in particular that had like a real problem and she was just completely stuck and you helped her out with some ideas?
There was one very recently, has a young high school student, and this student hasn't wanted to go to school and just plain refuses to go to school. And there's a lot of upset in and around it. And the parent just was like, I don't know how to motivate my child to get them to get up and get going, and not quite sure what to do with it. And there'd been heated conversations. And I know in the particular school where this child goes that there is actually she's a very lovely girl that I knew when my children went to school, and she's the counsellor at the school. And I said, have you thought about getting your child to actually speak to the counsellor so that it takes it away from you having to struggle with the constant battle of trying to understand how to motivate your child or to find out more about what's going on. And I said, sometimes your kids will talk to somebody else more than they'll talk to you. And this is a safe place. And she just went, I hadn't even thought of that. So I was really thankful that she was in the heat of the whole thing. Probably that limited her scope of trying to think of what options might have been out there. And just to be able to speak to her as someone on the outside looking in that is aware of some of the things around her life, and to be able to share that idea. And she was like, yep, I can go with that. And I actually know they are. So, yeah, that was pretty cool.
Wonderful. It does sound cool. And we could all use more of a support system, right? We could all use those people to speak to. And I read a book a bunch of years ago where they were looking at all this data and they were saying, what is the difference between a kid that's like really successful in life and all these factors and one that like doesn't amount to much? And they were saying, well, is it the parenting? And they were saying, no, it's their friends. It's the circle of people that they fall around with. And some of that is luck and some of that is judgment, but a lot of that is you as a parent, you don't have much control over. And so that kind of relates to what you're saying there of if you're just not getting through to them, if you're trying to reason with them in this way and that, then get someone else to speak with them, someone trustworthy who's a good role model. And that's just good advice in general, right? We should have these role models around us who will help us to be positive and to be kind to others and all these successful attributes. And so you've given us a little bit of a taste about what you do. And I'm also curious about you and your own backstory, because I know that you've struggled with ADHD and all sorts of other just like issues of like being embarrassed and things like that. And so like, what do you have to share about your own personal transformation and what you've learned?
Oh, my goodness, there's so much in that space. The most exciting thing after struggling with reading at school and just having such low self-esteem about the possibilities of what I could do, to discover that wasn't the truth, and that as you open yourself up to, and as we're talking about, being influenced by other people and being influenced by people that have success, that have the runs on the board, that have, I suppose, their whole passion is to help other people get to know the possibilities that are within. And I've, over a number of years, listened to, more so than read. Reading takes me longer, so I like to listen. I've listened to lots of books used to be on tape and then on CD, and just listening to things online that just encourage that there's so much more than you can imagine. There's so much more if you open yourself up to the possibilities. And I'm thankful that God has allowed me to come across different people that have helped that grow within me. And there are still times I struggle with the written word, and that's part of the ADD, ADHD thing. Also, the getting distracted, trying not to do 15,000 things all at the same time, and just, doing the things that are important and keep the focus on the things that are important. I would encourage anyone that has children and they've been told they're ADD or ADHD, don't go with what medical things say about them. because as an individual, they've got an ability that is different to other people and have the possibilities of just doing things, maybe creating things, maybe discovering things, maybe going about life and becoming successful in ways that no one else has done the same way. So the possibilities are amazing and endless, I think.
And we need to be open to these possibilities, right? And
Yeah.
to make the deliberate, consistent effort to listen to some of this good advice. And it's all out there, right? There's Audible audiobooks, there's podcasts, there's YouTube videos. And if you are choosing to embrace the negative or just watching like reality TV or something, then you need to correct that. And I mean, you can only imagine that, like, say, if you listen to a tape or an audio that said you're worthless, you're not good enough. If you listen to that every day, you'd feel really bad. And so, but the opposite's true, right? To make that uphill climb. And so I'm curious about just what kind of awareness you can bring to us about ADHD, because like I grew up in the generation where they just give you a pill, and that was like really scary, right? Because then you say, well, then does it affect your mind in other ways? And but now you'll hope that things are more psychology based and more inclusive in saying like you're not sick, you don't have a disability, you have a different way of thinking and you can harness that. And so I don't and also there was the phase there of ADHD was like a joke for a few years, right? They said, oh well, I'm just distracted, I have ADHD, but it's a real thing and it's serious. And I've heard a little bit about how like ADHD people, they get like really hyper focused on a project for a short period of time and then they get burned out and have to switch. And so it would make sense that if you had some awareness, you could figure out some strategies to not fail. So what do you have to tell us about what we should know about ADHD and how to harness it properly?
I think most of all, it's a description of something that, I don't know, it's a label, ADHD or ADD, in a sense that there are ways of being able to manage those things. And when you managed about the starting things and going hard at them and burning out, there's also a losing momentum in there. And with ADHD, there's trying to build strategies that you can do something and do it to the end. Find ways to complete things, because even if you've got a really big picture and you completed almost to the what you had, but you didn't quit halfway, is a lot more encouraging to do more things than if you start stuff and quit. Start it and finish it to what degree you can finish it at. Don't worry about whether it's perfect or not, or whether it's, someone else is not going to think you've done a good job. If you know you've finished it, then that's awesome. The other thing when you mentioned about medication, that's something that pretty much horrified me in the 90s with some of my family, was the go-to. And I thought, surely not. There's got to be something that's not just stick a kid on a drug and that'll fix everything. So I have learned over a long period of time that if you modify things in your life and you work on making it yourself as healthy as possible, so look at really good diet. Good sleep is a really big thing, even if you sleep restlessly, until you find ways to build your health to sleep soundly. Sleep is a really big one. I've found that vitamins and minerals and trace elements are really important in getting the balance in your system. And your fish oils, your salmon omega oils are amazing. So finding ways and learning about what you can that's within the health industry. And there's so many things out there now that talk about how our bodies, if we look after them well, they heal themselves. So if there's something that you may have picked up or inherited or is a part of who you are, if you work on your health, it just makes a difference to every other area. And ADD and ADHD has a lot to do with your thinking, what's going on in your head. So if you can get the balances right in those areas, and there's lots of wonderful advice out there of what you can actually consume that helps that as well, that it will make a huge difference, and medication won't be your go-to.
Wonderful. There are many more effective, long-lasting, healthier strategies than medication. And there's some helpful advice you've given us, right? Like to kind of pursue this habit of completion. So that way, if you have the pattern of always doing these things halfway, then maybe set smaller milestones or have rewards, or just set up your time blocking or time management up so that way you're saying it's better to get things done. And sure, they could be better, but just get this done, get this done. So that way that becomes your lifestyle instead of this half done, perfect kind of trap. And you're saying to change things up and to have the self-awareness and know when you're losing momentum, know when it's time to take a break or change up the routine. And so that's all very wonderful to think about and very helpful. And so as far as your life journey, right? You've gone through the ADHD, you've helped the single moms with their teens. Is there anything about this whole help journey that you've been on that surprised you? Has there been anything really cool and unexpected?
Like I mentioned with talking to the single mum, just the feedback of how stuff that I don't feel that I have great qualifications in, but sharing my experience and my journey helped this individual be able to take up a strategy. And I've had a number of those things that I've shared with people. I've had times in my life where I've worked alongside other mums and just in the area of food and cooking and shared things that I learnt, which was just everyday stuff we had to do our bit growing up, and sharing the way my mum taught me to cook and understanding how to prepare. And I came from a large family, so knowing how to cook larger quantities and be able to do food on a budget, like a low budget. When our children were young, had not a very high income. So managing food was a really big part of my life. And so sharing that with others and having them come back and say, look, I've saved so much money because I've bought in bulk, or I've cooked a few meals in advance, or I've done some and I've frozen them so I'm not going to the shop every day. And that's where I think also my passion for helping people to understand finances and to be able to make their finances work in a positive way for them. And I had, through my learning in that area, I've learnt about the power of mutual exchange. So it's when you want something, you'll do what it takes to get that thing. So you'll put in the effort that's required. And it may be in the area of finances that if you want to be able to make what you've got go as far as possible, then you make some sacrifices. You might change some of the luxury things that you've had instead of them being the highest priority to doing the foundational stuff. And then what you've got left, then do some of those things that are a reward, as you mentioned before. It's really important as I think you go through life and the things that you're working through is to have some rewards for yourself. Now, if they don't need to be financial, it could be just taking time to sit quietly during the day if you've got really busy days, or taking some time out to go outside and sit outside and look at the moon at nighttime. It can be something that is incredibly refreshing. There are so many small things you can do that are a reward that can satisfy the effort that you're putting in, so that you're working towards something. You're not just trudging through what you've got to do.
I love it. You get these milestones and you get the kind of, you give yourself a break, right? You work, you get a reward, you're having this self-awareness, you're working your brain's kind of, pleasure and pain system and putting it towards good and it not being this kind of chaos. So this is all wonderful to think about and learn about, and it can really give us a new perspective, a new way of thinking. And just as we focus on our self-help, personal development, positivity, and as we wrap up our conversation here, is there any final lesson that you want to pass on? Is there like a quote that has like really helped you, or just something in all your journeys that you say, hey, here's what can really help you today?
Always remember that according to the good book, you were fearfully and wonderfully made. So you're not an accident, you were made. And I want to just share that I have lived experience. I have learned perspective about myself and others in this industry and in this area. And I just want to encourage you to continue with your head held high.
Very nice. You're wonderfully made. And as we're considering this and thinking about the changes we're going to make in our life and how we're going to be kinder to ourselves and kind to others and just improve the world instead of being selfish. What's the next step here? Is the website chatwithgaicarman.com?
Yes, I'm hoping to be able to engage with other people that may be going through a struggle in their journey or wanting to glean more information, and I want to make myself available.
Very nice. And so Gai has made herself available at chatwithgaicarman.com. That last name is CARMAN.com. And there's definitely a danger in being too alone, too trapped in your own thoughts, too just going in that downward spiral. And there's all these metaphors about how the light will help you out, right? How when you kind of get some of that sunlight, that fresh perspective, that person to speak with, then you feel less alone, things feel less hopeless, you feel more optimistic, you open up many new possibilities. So definitely take Gai up on her offer here. Go to chatwithgaicarman.com, go to the website, click the button, schedule the time, and just talk to her and tell her about your fears and frustrations. Tell her about what's going on good in your life, and she can go back and forth with you and figure out some of the possibilities and what you can do as far as your own personal growth, your own mental health, your own parenting, just wherever you think that you're stuck, have that chat, and you'll be glad you did at chatwithgaicarman.com. And thank you very much, Gai, for stopping by and for just enlightening us, giving us this new, healthy, helpful, fresh perspective. I appreciate it.